What's up, fellow readers? Rambling Collector back here with another review for all of you today. Now, the subject of today's video will be an audiobook review, primarily about Barack Obama's autobiography, A Promised Land. Now, the reason why I wanted to check out the audiobook format was mostly due to curiosity. Not to mention the biggest drawing point was that this was actually narrated by the former President of the United States, Barack Obama. So this was the man narrating his own autobiography. That genuine curiosity is what made me pick this up. Not to mention I also got it at a discounted price. I mean, come on, you can't really beat that. And I won't lie to you guys, I am so glad I did get this at a discounted price. Because this audiobook itself is a whopping 28 discs in length. So I will warn you all now, to those of you who decide to pick this up in the future, either listen to this on a long car ride, or at the very least, set aside a couple of days to listen to it and give it your full attention. Otherwise, you will be staggered by the sheer size of this audiobook. Now, with all that aside, I won't lie to you guys. I did not know much about biographies at first, but this one I figured I'd pick it up just to see what it was about. Not to mention my curiosity about Barack himself. I knew about Barack Obama as the former President of the United States. I knew of him. I did not know him, though. And I feel like this autobiography finally gave me a glimpse to the man behind the presidency, as well as showing some of the highlights of his presidential career, and as well as some of the personal struggles he has to face with not only just being the President of the United States, but the sheer back and forth of political campaigning, as well as politics themselves. This really gives you a glimpse into the, I guess, workings behind Washington, D.C., in a way. That's the way I would want to put it. I'm sorry, you guys. If I sound like I'm stumbling, I apologize. This is just my first biography review, and I really don't want to mess this up, especially with such a prominent figure. So, to put it simply, one of the biggest highlights I will say about this audiobook was that not only does this highlight Barack's presidential campaign, as well as his time as president, but this also highlights his personal life behind the scenes. See, we all see the presidents when they're giving their grand speeches or some of the major highlights of their career. For instance, in Barack's case, it was the assassination of Osama bin Laden, the oil spill off the Louisiana coast, his healthcare programs, his advocacy for climate change, which the reason behind that was actually extremely simple and kind of funny in a way. But we also see his personal life, such as how he tries to be a good father to his two daughters, as well as his relationship with his wife Michelle Obama, as well as the many friends he had made throughout his life. Not to mention his deep relationship with his mother, and mostly just his personal life growing up. For one, a few surprising things that really got to me was the fact that, one, I did not know that Barack Obama was born in Hawaii, nor that his full name was actually Barack Hussein Obama, which I know are simple facts that anyone could possibly figure out, but to me, because of my kind of head in the sand and deal, I did not know this stuff. And now that I do, it feels shocking and also humbling in a way to know more about the man, to know more about this individual. But I will say this much. Listening to him narrating his climb in the political scenario, his reasons for why, wanting to make America, in his mind, a great country, an even better country for everyone, especially considering at this time they were dealing with a major economic depression when he came into office. So he had to deal with a collapsing economy, global warming being a major issue, and so many other things that were completely stacked against him that he had to juggle as his time as president. But listening to how the presidential campaign became like this whole dance with words, and him just trying to climb the ladder to become the next president of the United States, and before that, the senator of Chicago. My God, this really makes politics sound like a war zone of words, and by God, he really narrates it well. You feel this anxiety as he talks. You feel tense. You feel alert. You want the man to succeed. Well, you already know that he does. You already know that he succeeds in becoming president of the United States. But listening to how he talks, the struggles, the juggling that he has to do with both his personal life and his political campaign, really puts you on the edge of your seat a little bit. And not gonna lie, it is heartwarming to hear about his little family encounters, his relationship with Michelle, as well as him trying to be a good father to his little girls, as well as also recollecting on the fact that time has flown by so quickly. In one of the later discs, he actually talks about this when he and his family go on a trip to Brazil and see the statue of Jesus Christ on top of the mountain. He realizes just how much time has flown by, how his little girls are all growing up, and he feels like there's not been enough time to enjoy them and be a father, mostly due to the stress of his job as President of the United States. And I will say, some of the major highlights of his career, such as finding and assassinating Osama bin Laden, the individual responsible for the 9/11 attacks, not to mention also the massive oil spill off the coast of Louisiana, as well as his climate change reforms, and even his health care, how he tried to stabilize a collapsing economy. All of these things made for a very invigorating story. What made it more fascinating was that this was all real. This all happened during his life, and it was really an intriguing character study in a way, to learn more about the man himself, as well as to see him as a character, in a way. To see the aspects of his character, such as his frustration with people and their stubbornness, especially apparently with Mitch McConnell and the Republican Party when he was president, as well as the stress it puts on him and his family. At one point, when he actually talks to his wife Michelle about becoming president of the United States, she tells him straight to his face, "No, I don't think you should become president of the United States." And hearing about that, and especially knowing that his wife Michelle apparently hates politics, was a surprise to me, and it really adds that bit of drama to it. Just listening to this was like listening to the plot of a movie. There's the ups, the downs, the struggles, the fights, the drama in his personal life, which really highlights the fact that Barack is not just the image of a president. At the end of the day, he's human, and this audiobook really humanizes Barack himself as more than just a former president of the United States. It highlights him as a person with his own motives and goals and everything else. Now back to the whole global warming and climate change idea. What's funny is that his main inspiration for this was at one point when he was sitting down with his family, like over a meal, and his daughter asks him if he could probably save the tigers, seeing as their environment was going extinct. And to realize that he put a whole campaign of climate change, trying to pass bills and laws for it to try to essentially save the planet, all because his daughter was asking him to save the tigers, one of her favorite animals, is honestly heartwarming and pretty sweet. Not to mention also trying to pass legislation that his wife came up with, everything else. You see that this man values his family very highly, which I think is sweet. And honestly, just especially the final premise where he talks about how he is planning this whole mission to finally track down and eliminate Osama bin Laden, a major player in the war on terror. the leader of Al-Qaeda, the man responsible for the 9/11 attacks. That was actually a fascinating bit in a really interesting way, the fact that he actually puts this near the conclusion of this book was fascinating. It kind of simulates, it gives you like a final bit of falling action right before the conclusion. Not to mention the whole oil spill off the Louisiana coast. Now that was something interesting to learn about. And once again, I actually would recommend this one, especially if you just want to learn or do a character study about a former president of the United States. And that's all I can really say, is just this is a character study in a way. You learn more about the man behind the presidency, and you learn of his struggles, you learn of his family ties. And after listening to this, I think I finally caught a glimpse of the man himself, Barack, and what he wanted to achieve during his time as president. Anyways, I think I've rambled long enough. Let's get to the score, shall we? So all in all, I feel like putting Barack Obama's Promised Land at a good solid 8 out of 10. Now this is just the audiobook itself. Now I will say this, the 8 out of 10, I give it this because of the fact that the sheer size and length of this audiobook at 28 discs, which is a lot, all things considered. Not only that, but it does feel like it can drag a little bit. Like there are moments where it does feel a little monotonous. But do I recommend this audiobook? Yes. Do I also recommend it if you pick it up as a physical copy in book format? I would also say yes, especially if you want either a new nonfiction piece to read, or if you're just interested in reading a biography, which, after listening to this, I've become fascinated to read more, and you might see more audiobook reviews in the future. Or at the very least, more biography reviews in the future. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for listening to this crazy man's ramblings. If you like what I do, feel free to check out some of the playlists that I will leave here. If you have any other suggestions, please feel free to let me know in the comments section down below. And once again, thank you all for listening. This is Rambling Collector, signing off.